Big Ben is ringing, and we've got a 49ers update from London. This is going to be one of the last of the trip. Not the last. We've got a really good one coming tomorrow, but 49ers had their rookies report today. So that means that Curtis Rourke, the quarterback, is likely going to head on the non-football injury list with the pre-existing ACL. Listen to Big Ben. If you can hear it through this wind, maybe we've got to edit in that sound a little bit later. And in other news for the 49ers, Jauan Jennings, this has nothing to do with the rookies reporting, but the 49ers are not interested in trading Jauan Jennings. That's from Adam Schefter. I think that has, it's an obvious stance for the 49ers. Jauan is very, very important to this football team. I think that they're going to find resolution with Jauan Jennings. He wants more money. Obviously, he was so good with those 77 catches last year, and he's only being paid $7.5 million. When Brandon Ayuk is making $30 million, that's a problem. 49ers want to maintain good chemistry, and they want to take care of their own, the same way that they've taken care of Brock Purdy, George Kittle, Fred Warner 2 years ahead of his contract being due. Jauan Jennings is entering a lame duck year, and let's be honest, the 49ers do not let integral players play on lame duck deals. So they're going to find something. They're going to figure something out. And here's my interview on KMBR going further into this.
No, we're calling London. London's calling us. We're calling London. David Lombardi on vacation, kind enough to make time for us on the Jauan Jennings story. So I saw you on social at Wimbledon, David. Wow. SF Standard doing well, getting you out to Wimbledon. That's pretty exciting. Hey, welcome back to Murph and Marcus. How are you, man?
Hey, what's up, David?
Good. How are you guys doing?
How was Wimbledon?
Wimbledon was awesome, and then just one of the most serendipitous things ever happened. We were walking around London, I kid you not, like an hour ago. I didn't know who this guy was, but I just looked him up, and he has a Wikipedia and everything, so it's legit. He had a Giants hat on. He walked up to me and just started talking to me. He watches my videos and reads articles on YouTube. His name is Phil Cornwell. He's a British actor and comedian, and he has a 49ers logo tattooed on one of his arms and a Giants logo tattooed on another one of his arms. And so I just interviewed him. We just got on camera. We interviewed him for 15 minutes, and it was everything flowed. He was talking Niners history and talking about how Super Bowl 23 is what made him a fan. It was so cool. So I'm going to put that up on YouTube in about an hour, but London's going really well.
Dude, I'm checking him out. He was in Dunkirk. Is that wait? He's in the TV show. You go ahead.
He was in Napoleon too. I know that's not British, but he was in Napoleon.
Yeah. What a story! He's on Dead Ringers TV and radio series. He's in the band Gorillaz. Is that right? The band Gorillaz. You know they're kind of.
I haven't done
band.
my full. I haven't done my full research on him, but
Wow.
The guy literally walked up to me in the street, recognized me, and we started talking Niners. I just thought it was a cool British guy. So we popped open the camera, put on mics on both of us, and did a 15-minute interview, and it was awesome.
Yeah,
then I look him up later, and I see the Wikipedia page.
And he was in Napoleon. Wow, that is so cool. When's that going to post?
I was hoping to get it up this morning if the 49ers can help me out and not have any breaking news. Yesterday I thought was going to be quiet too, and so much for the drama-free offseason. But it's funny because with Jauan Jennings, it's something that we've been talking about all offseason. It's like, hey, this guy had almost 1,000 receiving yards. He's only making $7.5 million. It makes sense that he would want a new contract. Yet we hadn't heard anything on that front. Everything was suspiciously quiet, and then finally it's almost like we willed it into existence with talking about it all offseason. But it makes a whole lot of sense. He did. I feel earn a little bit more money with his play last year, especially when you view it in the context of the 49ers paying Brandon Ayuk $30 million per year and then Jennings turning around and outperforming Ayuk. So it puts him in a tricky spot because he just turned 28 5 days ago, and he wants to try to negotiate for a bigger contract before he's 29 next year. And typically the 49ers take care of guys who fit their system perfectly, which he does, ahead of a lame duck year. They don't let him play on that lame duck year. So Jauan Jennings saying, what about me? And I don't know what his exact demands are, but I would think that there could be a happy spot compromise between the 49ers and Jennings to get him a little bit more money this year while, keeping the 49ers salary cap situation in mind.
Okay, so a hopeful solution is out there. David Lombardi, who covers the 49ers for the SF Standard, he's on vacation in the UK, kind enough to check in on this whole deal, which is really great. So let's play hypothetical. You're John Lynch, and you're sitting in your office, and you get this call from Jauan's agent or Schefter or whoever. What's your reaction?
I would think that this is something that's been brewing throughout the course of the offseason, that Jauan and Drew Rosenhaus didn't just spring this on the 49ers right now. I think the timing of this happens because deadline pressure is something that comes in at the start of training camp, right? So that's when you start exerting a little bit more public pressure. So that's my theory. It would be shocking to me if this was news to the 49ers, because again, like we had been talking about this just from the outside over the course of the offseason, just because you identify where certain cost inefficiencies are. And Jennings, 975 receiving yards, set to make only $7.5 million entering a lame duck year. That was a cost inefficiency. So you would assume that he might want that contract adjusted. So I think it just now came to light. And the thing with the 49ers is they see that he just turned 28. They don't want to give out another 5-year receiver contract for huge money. But at the same time, it's tricky because Jauan Jennings is such a good fit for what they do, both in the run game and just mentality-wise, right? The way he's able to get under defenders' skin and draw those personal fouls. So I think this is one of those situations where you have to thread a needle and find something that works in the short term for both sides, because he's got some leverage right now, given the fact that Brandon Ayuk might miss the start of the season and Demarcus Robinson might miss the start of the season as well.
Is there any idea of what Jauan Jennings and his camp is looking for as far as a new contract and maybe even the length of the deal?
I don't know at this point. I don't think that's out yet. The 49ers have leverage too, right? The 49ers have him under contract for this year, so he can't go out and expect something completely crazy. But I think that he can go out and exert his own side of leverage and say, hey, I've got $7.5 million coming to me this year. That ranks like number 38 or number 39 of all receivers. And statistically, he was somewhere between the number 10 and number 20 guy last year when he had a chance to fill in at that X position for Brandon Ayuk. So, I mean, he's not going to be paid in the 10 to 20 range, but maybe it's reasonable to get that 1 year pay up to the 20 to 25 range, right? Maybe somewhere in the mid-teens would satisfy Jauan Jennings, or even, just a $3 or $4 million pay raise if that's all that he can squeeze out of the 49ers this year, just because they do have him under contract. Maybe that would be enough to satisfy him for the time being. So that way he's in a better position on a better platform entering free agency when he could take that bigger bite out of the apple next offseason.
Yeah, we're talking to David Lombardi, who covers the 49ers for the SF Standard, kind enough to check in from London as the Jauan Jennings demand. It makes a little bit of news here, not a little bit, but a fair amount of news in the Niners disrupting their calm offseason. You're listening to KNBR AM and KNBR FM, San Francisco, the sports leader, a Cumulus media station. So in terms of like that leverage point he's had, you talked about this, with Ayuk and with Demarcus Robinson, with everything. Like realistically, last year, what were the numbers? 77 catches, 975 yards, 6 touchdowns. He had that game against the Rams, 11 catches, 175 yards. Was he ready, do you think, or do you think he is ready to go even bigger this next year? Like, given the 49ers depth situation, given his increased chemistry with Purdy, like how high can Jennings go? Like, could he have a monster year this year?
Everybody talks about the lack of 40 speed, but Kyle Shanahan has said multiple times that he might be the 49ers' best separator because he knows how to play the position. He knows the route tree at every single position. So you saw it last year when he put up that huge game against the Rams. The numbers that he delivered there with 170 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns, that's only been done by Jerry Rice and Terrell Owens in 49ers history. And when he did that, he was actually playing at the Z for the first time in his career because Deebo Samuel missed that game. So he slid over from the third wide receiver spot to the second wide receiver spot, and he put up that monster game, which just goes to show you how on top of the playbook he is, right? And the 49ers love that kind of stuff. When you can deliver at the X, when you can deliver the Z, when you can do whatever Kyle Shanahan needs, I think that carries its weight in gold. So, yeah, I do think that if he plays the entire season as one of the 2 featured receivers, he can put up even bigger numbers. You would hope that Brandon Ayuk is back this year at some point to play the X, and that might take some of the targets away from Jauan Jennings. But more than anything, I think that the value he brings to the table is not quantifiable by simple statistics in a lot of cases. And I go back to how ferociously he run blocks. I mean, and the way that he gets under opponents' skin, he's a tone setter. So the first thing a lot of people said yesterday on social media is like, oh, Amari Cooper is a free agent, Keenan Allen is a free agent. Not only are both of those guys older than Jauan Jennings, I think you're just looking at box scores when you're assuming that both of those guys could replace what Jennings is doing as effectively as Jennings is doing it, because he brings that unique energy that kind of bonds the 49ers play style and locker room together. And John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan have been all about rewarding the types of players that perform in their system with their style to help, further spark this thing along. And I think Jauan Jennings just really fits into that boat. So I would caution against anybody thinking that this guy can be easily replaced.
David, there's been some back and forth conversation about when Brandon Ayuk is actually going to be back on the field for the 49ers. We talked to Matt Mayoka last week. He said he's not ruling out the possibility of him maybe being ready for week 1, but he expects the 49ers to place him on the PUP. What is your breakdown of the Brandon Ayuk situation, and when do you expect to see him back out there?
Yeah, I think that every single time that we've talked to John Lynch about this over the course of the offseason, there's been this cautious optimism where they're saying, hey, this guy's an elite athlete. He's progressing a little bit quicker than you might expect him to progress, because remember, this was both an ACL and an MCL tear, which makes things a whole lot trickier. So because of that, I think that there's been hope that he could come back in the first half of the season. But nobody, I think, has ever expected the 49ers to rush things. And I think that probably a week 1 return would fall on the side of rushing things. So you got the PUP list, physically unable to perform. He's almost certainly going to start training camp next week on that list. And if he stays on that list through camp, you can transfer him over to the regular season PUP list, where you'd have to miss at least the first 4 games, but he wouldn't take up a roster spot, which would be nice for the 49ers. So at that point, the likeliest is a week 5 return for Brandon Ayuk.
David Lombardi, a few more minutes here. He's kind enough to join us from London on vacation about Jauan Jennings, who's making a move. He offers maybe a solution somewhere out there where Jauan can keep his free agency next year and gets a pay raise this year. We'll see how John Lynch and the 49ers respond. But just in terms of the quarterback room or the receiver room we've been talking about, these rookies, or I should say second-year guy, Jacob Cowing, and the rookie receiver they drafted this year. I mean, it seems like Kyle's kind of famously hard on rookie receivers. You're not going to get a Puka Nacua just burst onto the scene here. Your thought on Cowing's development and on the draft pick this year?
And don't forget Ricky Pearsall, because the final 2 games of last season, he had 14 catches on 18 targets. And I think, if you're looking for any silver linings from 2024, the guy got shot in the chest, and then a few months later, he had 2 huge games in the NFL to close the season. So I think that the 49ers are really excited about the way that he's trending. As far as Cowing goes, every single time that he was on the field, which was obviously really limited last year, he was electric. The problem is that he weighed only 168 pounds. So the 49ers were, I think, really limited in how often they could use him, because, again, we go back to what Jennings brings from the physical perspective, a blocking perspective. I don't think that Cowing at 168 was able to do that. So when you heard George Kittle talk about him at the Dwight Clark event a couple months ago, the first thing he said is, this guy's been in the weight room. This guy's muscled up. Kyle Shanahan has said that he's been one of the hardest workers for the 49ers this offseason. Him and Pearsall have been training together. They even went to Jacksonville together to work with Purdy and Mac Jones. So all indications on Cowing have been positive. It does look like he's a little bit bigger, and I think that versatility that comes through strength is going to be the key to get him on the field a little bit more often. He's got some direct competition now, too, with Jordan Watkins, who's a little bit bigger than Jacob Cowing, but he's got the similar type of burst coming off the line of scrimmage. The past 2 years, the 49ers have gone after guys who have been at the top of the combine rank in terms of how fast the first 5 yards of their 40 has been. And Cowing was number 1 in the 2024 combine, and Jordan Watkins was number 1 amongst the receivers in the 2025 combine. So they love these guys that can just release off the line of scrimmage. And I think that Cowing and Watkins is going to be a nice little battle here in training camp.
49ers rookies report to training camp down in Santa Clara today. And David, there's going to be a lot of attention on the 5 straight defensive draft picks. What are you looking forward to seeing from those rookies in training camp this year?
Well, it's the first time since 1981 that they've used the first 5 picks of the draft on the defense, and we all know that it turned out pretty good in 1981. The reason they spent the first 5 on the defense is because they needed to, because they need to get younger, they need to get hungrier, they need to get healthier, and they need to get better against the run, which is a product of all those things. Especially, I think the hunger part is really important. So the way that you do that in this league is through the draft, and the draft picks have to hit. And in 1981, those draft picks by and large hit in a really big way when they invested big time in defense. So now we just have to sit back and see if they do hit. But I could see the vision. I mean, Alfred Collins, that's the one right now that still hasn't signed. So we'll see what happens there. But that's kind of a league-wide problem with the second round picks. But he's got a wingspan of over 7 feet, so you could see why they want him at the 3 technique, shades of DeForest Buckner and that length. They want to develop him into that type of player. Mykel Williams, also really, really long wingspan. He's been able to turn that length into power at the college level. Now they think he could do it at the pro level, maybe slide inside, work against some of those guards in pass rushing situations. But first and foremost, all of these guys in the top 5 picks were assets against the run in college. And the 49ers ranked number 27 or 28. I forgot how low it was. It was way down at the bottom of the league against the run. And that was the biggest weakness outside of special teams on this team. And it's a weakness that you cannot win a Super Bowl with. Like, you have to be better against the run than they were. And I don't think it was a coincidence that they geared those first 5 picks toward run stopping. And then when they made the trade for Bryce Huff, that's the pass rusher that they got. But you have to stop the run to have some fun. You have to take care of that first. And I think that's what this rookie class is all about.
And then finally, most important, does Phil Cornwell think Jauan Jennings should get paid?
Yeah, I think he does. I think I asked him about that too. I mean, we talked about so much over the course of those 15 minutes, so you should make sure to check it out. He probably knows better than me. He probably has some better insight. I mean, this guy knew his stuff. It was impressive.
That was fun. If you missed it, just joining the interview, David Lombardi, the SF Standard in London, ran into an English actor named Phil Cornwell. It was quite the resume. Approached him on the street and said, "I know you, dude." And they did a bit. They did a little man on the street London 49er take. So that should be fun to look at. We'll look at it for SF Standard. All right, David. Well, thanks so much. I mean, I know you thank your bride for giving us time on this. It doesn't sound like, I guess the net is we don't anticipate a Brandon Ayuk level of hostility on the Jennings situation.
They're expecting him to be there for the start of camp, but he's let him know that he's not happy about it. I think it's a good faith thing from Jauan Jennings, and he wants the 49ers to act in good faith and response. And I think the facts are the facts. And you see that they paid all these guys entering the lame duck year, and you see that he delivered last year. He's been a trooper for him for years now. So I expect this to get resolved in a way that's a fair compromise for all.
Well, that would be a positive and optimistic ending there. So, all right, enjoy the rest of your trip. Have a safe journey home, and we'll look forward to your coverage. Thank you, David.
Yeah, thanks, Dave.